The Jets are next with a first-round draft pick, and at least for now, because as we were recording this show, word came out that they just made a decision by hiring Nathaniel Hackett as their offensive coordinator. And of course, before becoming the head coach at Denver, he was coaching Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. And there's a lot of talk about Aaron Rodgers, of course, leaving Green Bay. And if he does leave Green Bay, AFC teams make the most sense. Raiders one, Jets are now clearly another. So this is I would guess this is the starting point of what it's going to take to get Aaron Rodgers. Even at his age, this is what it's going to take.
This is if there's a betting market on where Rodgers ends up next year, outside of Green Bay, Jets are now the favorite. And I don't know anything further than that, but I would assume the name Aaron Rodgers came up in the interview, in negotiations for the contract, right? Does this mean he'll end up there? No. There's a lot of moving parts here. Compensation. The Jets are going to have to give probably something close to what the Browns and Broncos gave up for Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson. And you're talking a lot of draft capital and then a ton of money. And now, you combine that Aaron Rodgers contract with what you are paying Zach Wilson, a rookie deal, but still it's not pennies, right? You're talking about probably one of the biggest investments in the quarterback position in the league. If I'm going to do my math right, that might be close to $60 million being invested at that one position on a team that, if we take quarterback out of this conversation right now, there are multiple things this team needs to compete next year at a high level. And part of it is guys coming back from injury. So that's not further investment than what you've already done. But Aaron Rodgers leaving the Green Bay offensive line, which is a better group than what the Jets have right now, especially if they don't resign the center, McGovern. What is he going to be playing behind? That's a big part of Rodgers even wanting to go to New York. Is he going to be protected? Good athlete, sure.
I think what
yeah,
because if they don't have obviously some of that capital, and depending on how much space they would have left with Rodgers, I think their best case scenario is you get Vera Tucker back, obviously.
Yep, stud.
You got to just keep your fingers crossed that with all of the weight that Becton has now lost, and it's maybe this is what it needed to happen. They needed to take a couple of years to get his body to sustain the NFL better than it was, because everybody knew that was a potential issue when he first got drafted. So maybe that works out. If that does, and by the way, maybe they re-signed Fant as an insurance policy, and I don't think it would cost a whole lot to bring him back. So I think, and then they really like Max Mitchell. He did a good job for him when he played.
I like Max Mitchell. He's a part of the process.
So like you said, I think as long as you just re-sign McGovern, maybe re-sign Fant, you could have a good offensive line, because the whole injury situation at tackle it's just not, you can't sustain that every year. It's not going to happen. Right. So if they get lucky next year, better luck on the offensive line, they should be okay there. When I'm looking at potential trading players, I mean, I'm thinking that maybe Corey Davis. He's got one more year left on his contract. To tell you the truth, I think they're gonna cut him anyway, because he's got no dead cap space, minimal.
Okay.
So, and I know they like him as a veteran, but the guy can't stay healthy. He's making too much money. So I think I could see Corey Davis either getting cut or traded.
Okay.
And then the other two guys that I would keep an eye on, I don't know if it would work with the Packers defense. Maybe John Franklin Myers could, but Carl Lawson, he's got minimal dead cap space, but I don't know if he really fits with the Packers defense, because they run the 3-4. But I think Franklin Myers might be a player that could fit in any defensive scheme.
They could use him too. They could use him on their defensive front. They need some help up there.
Yeah. So maybe those are the best players that I'm just looking at the contracts that are coming off the books next year that don't have a whole lot of dead cap space that they could trade. Otherwise, if you're looking at what the Packers need, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think that the Packers need that the Jets have as far as younger players?
I mean, I'm not sure because they signed him last year. Maybe you have the number in front of you, but they need tight end. Green Bay could use another tight end. Does Conklin make sense to go over there? I know you love them, but hey,
Oh
Jets
yeah,
drafted
I don't
Jeremy
think.
Ruckert
Oh,
last year.
yeah, if you're getting Aaron Rodgers, we definitely
Well,
trade one of
yeah,
the two. Yeah,
and we both know it's going to be. We're talking about a piece of the
yeah.
trade. We're not talking about Tyler
Well, they
Conklin
got
for Aaron
Ruckard,
Rodgers.
who
Right,
should be ready now to
right,
step up and
exactly.
be a top 2 tight end.
Dude, I mean Ruckert. I was on Team Ruckert last year. He was my top tight end in last year's class. I think Ruckert's going to be a player
Yeah,
here, and he just got blocked by the veterans they signed,
yeah.
and that's okay.
That's going to
You
take
don't
time.
always
Yeah.
need to be, does not need to be a year one player, especially at tight end.
So that makes sense.
But
So Conklin, yeah, maybe Conklin.
let's use the Denver Seattle trade as a template here, right?
Okay.
They gave up some draft capital, but then they also traded role players,
Yes.
right? Font and Shelby Harris, and I think there was another guy in there. But
Well, there you go. John Franklin
Duloc,
Myers,
right,
and Tyler Conklin.
right. So you're probably looking at a first round pick and then something else, maybe even 2 first rounds pick, and then you throw them 3 players that help their team out: John Franklin Myers, Tyler Conklin, right? Corey Davis, like you said, and that also clears the money needed to bring in the Rodgers contract. But if the Packers are looking for picks only, maybe the price goes up when it comes to draft capital. But I think one thing Jets need to realize if they do that, there are a lot of names that I thought were important pieces to their team last year that they're probably going to have to wave goodbye to.
Like?
Are you willing? Quincy Williams, linebacker.
Oh,
Goodbye. Connor McGovern, the center.
Well, again, then they're going to need a center.
George Font, maybe. I mean, you could probably bring back one of those guys. Lamarcus Joyner, I'm sure you're fine with leaving.
Yeah.
Sheldon Rankins.
Well, Lamarcus Joyner is a free agent.
Yeah, okay, that's right. I'm looking at the free agents here. No, I'm telling you won't be able to re-sign these guys.
I got it. Okay.
If you're bringing in that Rodgers contract. I mean, Sheldon Rankins, Solomon Thomas, Quan Alexander, Vinnie Curry, Nathan Shepard.
They don't need any of those guys.
You think you probably would.
Honestly, out of the free agents right now that the Jets have, the guys that I believe that they really need moving forward, it would be Fant and McGovern.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, none of these guys, look, I know how much Salah loves these players.
Yeah.
But
that's part of it, though.
But Joe Douglas is the general manager.
Yeah.
And he's making a trade, and you have to part with guys you like.
And I also think what Salah would have to be okay with is the pro personnel department with the Jets has done a very good job.
Yes.
They find value when guys start getting cut after training camp. The Jets always find guys. And I think that's part of being on a team with each other is understanding that the staff we have in the pro personnel department, they can make things happen if we do have to wave goodbye. If the price tag for some of these free agents is simply too high because we're getting Aaron Rodgers, don't forget that. That's what you're getting. That's why you'd be losing some of these guys.
Yes.
That trade-off seems pretty fair.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. So they also have to resign Zerline, so they do need to figure out what to do at place kicker. And like I've been saying, I told you like a couple months ago, I hope they use up one of their mid-round picks on Adam Korsak. So I'm a big Korsak fan at punter.
Okay.
I've had enough of Braden, man. You know, I mean, this guy has had chances and chances and chances, and it's just he's not developing. So,
I'll tell you what. Bill Parcells, he's always said that if you want to win one more game, win 1 or 2 more games next year, make your special teams better.
That's it.
And if you can find the punter, you can find the kicker. That might be what separates. Get Aaron Rodgers.
If you can get a weapon that can help, it'll help your defense. That's what the punter is. He's helping your defense.
Yep.
That's what Adam Korsak, in my mind, can be in the NFL. So yeah. So, but again, look, if the Jets do not make the trade for Aaron Rodgers, then I'm looking at they've got to just get some more offensive tackle depth, because after what happened last year, they just got to get some more depth there. And and of course they got to resign McGovern or they got to draft a center. But then on defense, it's that defensive line. I know they brought Clemens and Johnson in last year, so that's good. But overall, I got to tell you, I was very disappointed with Carl Lawson. It's his first year off the injury. So maybe he'll have a breakout. It is his final year coming up. So go ahead and do your thing on your final contract year after not doing much last year, because pretty much it was Quinnen Williams, and they did not get enough edge rush from this past defense last year. They just didn't. So it was, I mean, and turnovers, I think we mentioned, they just did a terrible job. They just did not have enough playmakers in the middle of their defense that could create turnovers. So they need a hybrid linebacker, safety type of guy in that middle of the defense that Saleh can use to try and be a disruptor. That's something they really do. Whitehead's a good safety and all, and Mosley is just, we've talked about him before. He's a good leader. He tackles. That's all he does. He doesn't make plays anymore. That's just not his MO with this defense. So they need a playmaker in the middle of their defense.
Okay. I mean, how about your boy J.L. Skinner?
Yes.
I think would that be a nice move?
Because that would be what round?
I would say round 3.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So they can use that.
Build up the rest of the roster. What are your thoughts on how much does Bryce Huff swing the pendulum for the outside? I think that kid, if he gets the amount of snaps, I think he can get it done.
I think the thing is they just look at him as he's just a pass rusher. He's a pass rusher specialist. That's all he is. And he made a few plays. I think it's a guy that you re-sign minimal. Yep. But I
restricted free agent.
I didn't really see enough. It wasn't like they were going to use him full time anyway. So he's just he's a good depth pass rusher. That's all he is for them. The big deal for them is they need Johnson and Clemens to take the big step.
Yes, that would be enormous. That would be huge.
That's what they need, because they looked good at times, and they were just part-time rookies. So now if they become full-time players, I think that's where maybe that edge rush help that I'm talking about comes from. So And by the way, they need more defensive tackles besides Quinnen Williams, because if they don't re-sign Rankins, it's kind of thin. Solomon Thomas is just a body, and Nathan Shepard hasn't really done much. So I'd say the interior of that defense, unless they re-sign Rankins, is also going to be a big need for them.